the 30th. It is due on the 30th of this month of October. So you have pretty good time to work around it. And it was the debate that I asked you to write. Some of you have already asked who are still working on it. So don't worry, you still have time up to the 30th. So the debate motion was the humanity today. The students need serious socialization in order to fit in the society. So this is very specific, but some of you will want to look at the environment where you are working or where you will be working as teachers. So that you could also highlight the students and the teachers, school administration, and so forth as your target audience on which you could develop this debate. And as I said earlier, when you're organizing a debate, especially the written one like this, involves you doing it alone. So that means you will have the side of the proposers, you exhaust that, you move to the side of the opposition before you conclude the debate. And of course, when you do a debate, you normally do your research around the topic or the motion. So your research involves you reading different articles or textbooks, newspapers, and so forth. And at the end of it, you will need to cite these materials you have read in your debate, especially in the paragraphs that you develop. So after that, you have to compile a list of references at the end of it. So this involves quite a lot of things to do. And that is why I requested you to read further, and then you are able to come up with all these citations to the references list. I will show you what those can mean, because we need to keep reminding each other. And the structure of our essay, which is called the debate, will be as follows. We shall have the introduction, the topic. First of all, you need to write it, the motion itself. Then it is followed by the introduction. The introduction is a whole paragraph that you make. And the paragraph can be sometimes 3 lines or 3 sentences, 5 sentences. Some people can go up to 6 sentences, 10 sentences, depending on how you write. And then the body of the debate starts. You argue the side of the proposition, the side of the opposition. Then after that, you conclude the debate, and the conclusion will be one last paragraph. After the conclusion, you are supposed to give us the references list, and that page will not be counted among the 5. So be assured of that. The first page is supposed to be page number 1, but here you will have the title page where you have the debate's motion, and then you have your name. Probably before the debate's title, you have the university's name put there on the title page. University, Faculty of Education, because you are all under the Faculty of Education. And then after that, your motion. After the motion, you have your name and your registration number. Colleagues, don't forget that. I need your registration numbers because I'm going to record the marks. And the marks should go under each registration number. And then, of course, that will be covered under the title page. We shall not number it as page 1. Page 1 starts on the second page in our case, where now you will start the introduction. You go into the body, conclusions, and so forth. So those will now form the 5 pages I'm looking for. And then after that, you can reread, proofread, you can do spell check before you email it to me on 30th of October. And the deadline in terms of time is at 11:45 p.m. before midnight. Because after midnight, it is already 31st. So you will be outdated there. So that is the briefness about that. But let me show you how you are going to go through this essay, the debate itself. Our debate, probably some of you already went through it at your private time, part-time, when you are reading this. The topic of the essay, this is in academic writing, because this debate is a part of academic writing. You need the topic, but for our case, it is not a question nor a theme. It is going to be the motion. That will be our number one. Number two becomes the introduction. You need to outline the key terms or concepts in the motion. You need to define those key terms. I hope you know that already. You can even use a text that defines the motion best for you. Then you make sure the citation of that text is there if you use the text. And then you go to the body of the essay or the debate. Take the proposition side, exhaust the paragraphs on the proposition side. And then you move to the paragraphs on the opposition side, also exhaust those before you go to the conclusion. Then in the conclusion, before there, in the body, I expect the following things to be done. One, you form paragraphs with some views from different authors whose work you used for the debate. So if you have one paragraph, you can cite an author. Some people may even go up to 2 to 3 or 4 authors. That's okay. You can do the citation there. And then you form your arguments. The arguments must be clear in the paragraph. And then the evidence. What are the examples you are using from real life situations? When you are doing a debate, you need to come up with the evidence or real life examples. And some of the evidence can be the citation you come up with. 2, after the citation, what is happening on the ground with the people? Then you can cite those examples in the schools or in the education environment. Then we shall know these are examples you have cited in the body. And then from there you conclude. By conclusion, I don't mean you summarize the debate. I hope colleagues, you are now aware of that. Summary and conclusion are 2 different things. For summary, you recap or you recapitulate. You go over what you did in a short form. That is a summary. But for conclusion, you have to now give your general final position or views on what you have discussed on the side of opposition and proposition. So you look at both sides and now make your final view on this debate. And that will serve as your conclusion. It can be one conclusion, or some people may make several conclusions. That means maybe 2 to 3 sentences as your conclusions. That's okay. Then at the end of it all, what you cited in the body were the authors and their views and the years when they published the work you read. So that must be cited in terms of, organized in terms of the references list. So the references list must be complete. I will show you how it looks like at the end of it again. The list of authors' surnames arranged alphabetically from the beginning to the end. And then the title that you read from each author must be reflected. The year when the author wrote or published that work must be there. And then, of course, the title you read must be italicized. All the letters are bending towards the right. That is italicizing it. And then, of course, you need the city where this work was published, if it is a textbook, and then the publisher. But if it is not a textbook, for example, it is a journal article, you need also to come up with the journal's name, and then the volume, the edition or the number of the publication should be reflected there. The page numbers also have to come there. So that is how you need to organize that work. But let me go to the next slide to show you how this can be done in real terms. I did that with a group of people before, but I hope you can also benefit from this in my details here. For example, here you have a paragraph which is in the academic writing piece. So in the body or from the introduction, you need paragraphs to form this essay. So how is a paragraph organized? A paragraph is made up of sentences or statements. So we expect at least a minimum of 3 sentences in a paragraph. And then maximum, you can go up to 5 sentences to form that paragraph. That will be fine. Now, the paragraph has always an opening statement or a sentence. And that is what we call a topic sentence. Every paragraph must have a topic sentence. So in this slide I have here, the paragraph starts with adults should read it to infants. So that means adults should read to infants is your topic sentence. It is a complete sentence with the object, with the subject, you see the verb, and then the object. Everything is there to make it a complete sentence. And then from there, you can start giving us the source of this topic sentence or argument you are setting forward. So this comes from Rafiki and Soita in 2021. They demonstrated the importance of reading to infants as follows. Then you cite. And this citation is called a direct quotation. And it is a direct quotation without quotation marks because the lines in this quotation are more than 4. Line 1 is in our study in Nairobi City Secondary School, students whose parents read. That is one line. Books to them as infants have a strong love for their parents. These children, that's line 2. Line 3 is love reading even when teachers do not prompt them to do so. For them, reading, that's line 3. Line 4 is not a hobby, is now a hobby and a joyful experience. That may explain why the majority of, that's line 4. And then line 5, these students have excellent academic results. That is 5 lines. Because it is more than 4, according to the Harvard referencing style or citation style, this direct quotation is without quotation marks. But we used a block quotation. Block means it is like a piece of brick, one brick or one block, which is rectangular in shape. So you can see how this writing is put in that way. It is single spaced, and the rest of the writing is going to be double spaced. But this citation is single spaced to make sure it is isolated from the rest of the text body by that single spacing and keeping it as a block or a brick in the middle of the text. And you indent it from the left towards the right by 1 inch spacing. So you can see how deep inside it is compared to the others, like adults should read to infants. Then this is now the citation. what about the rest of the sentences which follow it? What follows it in the green color? Adults who read to their infants help their infants to read at a later stage, to see the association between words on the page and the language, and to view books and reading as a positive experience. This is now the reason you are giving for the citations above. Adults should read to infants. Why? The reason, now you are arguing your case out. The reason is adults who read to their infants help their infants to read at a later stage, to see the association between words on the page and the language, and to view books and reading as a positive experience. That is your reasoning. Now, the reasoning should be followed by your conclusion of the paragraph. So, colleagues, when you go to the last sentence, which is in red here, Rafiki and Soita's findings are useful in explaining why students in secondary schools can academically outperform their peers. This is now your final say about what you have written, reading to adults. So you are there answering and quoting Soita, and you are repeating what Soita and the Soinka did, and the Rafiki did. So here, the last sentence is your conclusion, and it should lead you into starting the next paragraph. And then again, the next paragraph should again start with the topic sentence, which you have prepared. So colleagues, where do you get the topic sentence? That is a question we need to also be familiar with. The topic sentence comes as a result of you outlining the points about the motion. For example, motion about violence. Let me go back to that motion and show. So here you have a topic on human beings in my society, especially students, need serious socialization in order to fit in society. So here you need to come up with outline of your points for the debate. So when you outline, let us say 5 points, each point should be developed in a particular one paragraph. So the more points you outline, the more paragraphs you are going to come up with. That is how the outline of points comes from the motion itself. And then you develop the points that you want to put in the paragraphs. And each point will be put in what we call a topic sentence. That is what I wanted to show you before I can move on. So as we move on, please, there is a hand from Senda. Senda, you can go ahead with a question or comment.
I just want to put more light on direct quotation. I did not pick you well here when you are talking about direct quotation. Rafika and Soita.
Okay. Here, the quotation is a direct one. Normally, a direct quotation is put between inverted commas. I hope you're aware of that.
Yes, doctor.
But when the quotation is made up of more than 4 lines, according to the Harvard referencing style or citation style, if it is more than 4 lines, like the case here, you remove the inverted commas. Instead, you leave the block quotation, which is single-spaced, like the way it looks up here on this slide. Is that now clear?
Yes, doctor.
So when it is below 5 lines, you maintain the inverted commas.
Okay.
Yeah. So that is what we call direct quotation. But there are cases where you don't need direct quotation because some of you are so rich in the vocabulary, so you would like to paraphrase what Soita and the Rafiki said. So when you paraphrase, you keep the paraphrase within the citation without quotation marks, without using a block quotation. So it flows with the sentence. And then at the end of it, you will put the name of Rafiki or Soita. And I will show you soon how you start doing that. There is an example which will come towards the end of this presentation. Okay, Sender, your hand is still up. Is that an old hand we can lower? Or
No, it's an old hand.
okay, thank you. All right, let me show you how the citation is going to look like. By citation, we mean you are acknowledging the view of an author. And the view of the author is always either started with the author's name or author's name and the year, or you end it with the author's name and the year. These are the two possibilities in the Harvard referencing style. So when you do that, for example, as I define it here, a citation, especially in-text citation, when you are writing your paragraph, you can cite within the paragraph. That is what we call in-text citation, within the text you are writing. So it is the practice of acknowledging. And how do you acknowledge the author and so forth? By quoting either directly or paraphrasing some of the author's ideas that you have used in the essay or research paper. For your case here, it is going to be the debate. So you will need to cite the author's name and then the author's idea. And then, of course, you put the year when the author wrote that particular book or published it. So how do you do it in the middle of the essay or at the beginning of the essay? For example, you could start with the author's name. Here is one example from author called Esanyu. Esanyu wrote a book in 2022. So in that book, there is a view you are interested in for your debate. And you can paraphrase that instead of giving a direct quotation. And the paragraph can go like this. Esanyu 2022 believes that is you who is saying it because you read Esanyu's work. And what does Esanyu believe? You now include the view of Esanyu on the subject that is there. Esanyu believes that regular 30 minutes per day exercise is good for health reasons. That is what Esanyu is arguing, is fronting or putting across for us in the paragraph. This is one way to cite using paraphrasing. You can start with the author's name like Esanyu. Here you don't put Esanyu's other names. You just go for the only surname Esanyu that the author has. So the surname here is Esanyu. The year when Esanyu's work was published is 2022 in brackets. Don't forget that. And then you can put your own words and arrive at what Esanyu actually said, but in your own words, in your own understanding, but don't distort Esanyu's view. So that is why now we say Esanyu believes, that is you saying believes, that now you put the rest in your own words also, that regular 30-minute per day exercise is good for health reasons. That is one way to cite. But you can do the same thing, ending with the author's name and the year. So how does that go? The last sentence in green shows you that. For example, here, Esanyu had written this in 2022. Now we are in 2023. I can reliably say a year ago, a researcher found out that regular 30-minute per day exercise is good for health reasons. And who is this researcher? The name is Esanyu, comma. When did he publish this work? in 2022. So that is the case or the example where you end the citation with the author's name and the year. The first sentence was starting with the author's name, and then the year is in a bracket, and the author's view follows. So this is what we call in-text citation. Number two. Number one was a direct quotation, which we saw earlier in the previous slide. Now, this is number two of the in-text citation, but using either the author's name first and the year, and then the idea follows, or the author's idea comes first and the author's name and the year are put between brackets. So these are very interesting academic writing tips you need to now start using in your university training, especially at this level where you are in the postgraduate diploma in education. You need to start familiarizing yourself with that. I know some of you did this in your previous training, but now here is the emphasis put on using the Harvard referencing style, which probably you were not familiar with before. So that is the in-text citation. Let me lead you to the next paragraph, the next slide, before we do other things about the assignment. Now, what is the purpose of citations? And when you look at this, each one of you needs to be aware of that, because you are going to start citing in many of the assignments the university is going to give you. Why do you have to cite? The reasons are many, but I would like to focus on a few. One, we need to respect the authors. You know, sometimes people fighting because ideas are conflicting. But an academic writer, you need to respect the authors whose work you cite. That's why citation is important. You are a respectful writer. You have ethics. You care about the people whose views are out there. You don't just cite people and you don't acknowledge them. No. You must respect those people who have included in your work by citing them correctly. A point of respect for the authors. And then the next reason, with your research and academic writing ability. Writing academically, it is not like you are talking verbally. Writing requires you to read and interact with other people's views, which you can cite. That is a demonstration of research and academic writing ability. That's why the next reason is we need to adhere to academic procedures or rules. And that is one of the that I showed you earlier in the previous paragraph, that the must be organized. It has a structure. It has rules to follow. You start with the topic or the motion. You have the introduction to the motion. You have the body arranged in form of paragraphs, and then you conclude. After conclusion, you compile references list. So these are this, and it is not followed in common writing that you will come up. Many writings are without this formal approach, which follows strict rules. That's why it is called academic writing. Some people call it scientific writing. This is what I'm introducing you into, so that the debate is a scientific, it can be called academic writing. It's not any essay you are used to before. The number 4 reason for citations is to show how previous informs your current research. So you will be doing this debate, but who argued on this motion, and how did they argue? Do you like it or not? Why? So that will be to show how the previous informs now your current essay or debate. That is why we. The next reason is credibility or credibility of your debate. The judges, for example, me who your debate, I need to know that your debate is correct. If the points you are raising, they are enough. So that is why citations are very important. It shows that work is credible. You have interacted with many other views before you, and they informed the process. Now you have your particular either for these views or against these views. That is where it is going to be judged on. Finally, when you are writing such an academic essay or debate, we try to cite, because we don't want to be accused of plagiarism. To means you use people's ideas without acknowledging them. Some people even go to the extreme to say that plagiarism is stealing people's idea views. But I would not go to that extent, because when you steal, the person loses what you have stolen. But when you plagiarize, you use ideas, the ideas still remain there, but you have used them in your own text, in your own environment, somewhere without acknowledging. That is the reason I call it using people's ideas instead of stealing people's ideas, as the experts claim today. So colleagues, these are the reasons for, you can add more to this list as you see fit. Next slide that I would like to share with you now. References list. I think last time I tried to allude to that need to put more emphasis on this as well. The list can it be any as you want, depending on how many references or how many citations the body of your writing, or from the introduction to the body. So had 5, there must be 5 here in the references list. If you cite, they must all be reflected in the references list as 10. So citation, according to the Harvard referencing style, must look like this. And I hope each one of you already has this copy I sent you. So follow that to the letter. This is how the referencing style is done. And here, what I missed to give an example is about the journal articles. I should have cited one example here, but I'm going to send you some of those details so that you have them in your granary of resources. These are key things in your academic writing, especially developing this essay or debate. You need this. Any further questions, colleagues, members, anything still disturbing, let me know so that I can guide you. Any queries, any comments about this? Tumuine, Deo gracias.
Yes, Doctor. Thank you so much for the presentation. My question or my is on secondary sources. Why
Yes.
sometimes the original text, I mean the author, but has cited another person. Sometimes you find that someone has cited so many others, yet it is a good source, there is some good information, not get the original text. And yet that person has cited many other authors in that text.
Yeah, that's very important. And here I give you an example. The examples on this slide where you see Kabir S 2016 writing research report. That is the title I read. But this title is found in another author's work. And that author's work is this in basic guidelines for research and introductory approach for all disciplines. That is now the heading of the book in which research report by Kabir is found. So Kabir is the author, but that is found in a book edited by other authors. And those authors are the ones behind the entire work. So you can say in the lines, and here, actually, I missed one step. The authors who edited this work, who are not the original authors, should have been referred in, let us say, Tumwine and others, Tumwine et al. So it is still the same year, 2020, 26. And then the title of the book that the work of Kabir is found, it comes Basic Guidelines for Research and Introduction for All Disciplines. And the book was published in Chittagong, probably in China or in Southeast Asia countries that are there. Then that is the city, Chittagong. But who published it? Book Zone Publications. So that is an example where you have a second author, or the original author and the other author are all included in this case. So it is very important. Find the original author is not there, but there is the book under maybe a company's name. So you need also to be aware of some of those situations. But by and large, all of you are going to cite authors whose work is directly attributed to that particular author. So make sure you judge that in the way you download or read those items, articles, or the books you download. Make sure you get the details of who wrote the book, the original author first. And then if the original author there, where is that idea found? So you go to that second source and cite it. That will be important.
Yes, doctor.
You are welcome. Now you are clear. Thank you for that.
Thank you. I have two queries.
Yes, please.
The first one is problem with identifying European surnames.
Uh-huh.
You know, in Europe, David can be a surname, yet here it is a Christian name. So
Yes.
African surnames are very typical, very unique, and is easy to identify compared to the. So I always find it difficult in identifying. And then, if I find a book on the internet with the full references,
Yes.
and I have read it, the book, do I have to indicate I got it from an online source?
Okay, very good. That's quite a nice question, Caesar. That I think, may I go on, or you are still asking more? Okay, thank you very much. The first one is very important. Sometimes the author's surname is to identify. But when you are reading the book, especially books, Europeans and Americans, what you will notice is that some of them have two Christian names. Some of them have one there's one Christian name, but the two had to judge whether this is a Christian name or not, or as a given name or not. To do, the book may have a name like John Paul Owino. Sorry to use your name Owino here again. So if you have a book like John Owino, there are three names in that book, John Paul Owino. You look for the last name. The last name here is Owino. Suppose Owino we are not there and you have Paul. So which will be the last name here?
The last name would be Paul.
Paul. So that will be your target. You will go for Paul first in your citation. Paul 2023 stated that this goes on like this, like this. So that is for European and American names. You will run into that. Sometimes you find the author has 6 names. So go for the last name. Because when they put the names of the author on the book, they start with the author's first name, because in America and Europe, they use first and then last name. So you will need to go for the last name in that. So I hope, Caesar, that is very helpful here. As the online sources, when you get an article and you are going to cite it, make sure references list, the website is also cited. For example, on this screen you are now seeing, there is the first reference, APA, that is American Psychological Association. It was this article was published in 2022 by APA. So APA is a company name. That's why it stands there, APA. You could call as American Psychological Association. And then the title you read from APA is Publication Manual of the American Psychological Association. It is italicized. And then this is the 7th edition. But you found it online. And being an online source, the online source must be cited. And here, the source indicates the identity of the author also. Interesting. The identity of the author is abbreviated as DOI. This is DOI, which you see on the screen. That is the electronic identification for the author. So it is found on site named HTTPs. And you see :/ and then the author's identification, so that identification you can get to the author's writing, which is called Publication Manual of the American Psychological Association. And then the author's identity includes numbers of the article and so forth. All those numbers reflect that. So it forms a complete website. And when you click that, it will lead that publication manual straight away. So that is where the electronic site put on the internet can be cited. And then the other example is in the second last author, Q.L. research report, and the entire title reads as various components and the structure. Where did you get that? On this website, you see : / and then you have the other names or identity of that article. When did you retrieve it? For example, for this debate, if you download, you make sure you include when you retrieved it. date when you retrieved it, maybe let us say 7th of October 23. You need to put that date when you retrieved it. These are the online sources that you can cite in the body, but you come up with the references list. And in the references list, you include the, but when you cite it in the paragraph, you don't need the website. You only put the company that published it and the year. Those are the two things you cite in the, but in the references list, it must be complete like this with the website. Lisa, I hope this is very helpful to you in your academic writing. I hope you have seen how good this can be. Caesar, you okay now with this?
Yes, I'm fine.
Thank you. I can see Innocent to Haire has unmuted. Would you go ahead, please, with your...
Thank you, Doc. My issue is on the interplay of words. Accessed, then retrieved on. Do we
Yes,
use
please.
them concurrently, or there in the citations? Some we have to put viewed, but here sometimes I don't know if someone can use either of these, or even can use them concurrently, and they mean the same way.
Okay, they mean the same thing, but you need one at a go. Two of them, like access, stroke, retrieved. No, just use.
Okay.
All right. Sender.
Thank you, Doctor. I just wanted to add on what Father Owino, Father Caesar was talking about, differentiating between the surname and the Christian name.
Yes.
It's easier to tell. For example, I can give you a name like David Cameroon. Of course,
Yes.
which one comes first when you are using maybe in text? Or Cameroon comes first, then David last. Then, for example, like David Beckham. Beckham comes first, then David last. I hope, Doctor, that's how it is.
Yeah. So you Beckham and the surname is the last one, Beckham, not David. It can be identified, but some confusing, you may not even know it is. Sometimes it is the Muslim given name.
Okay.
You say Muhammad Ali, maybe Muhammad Ali bin Laden. That's a very long one. So you may struggle with that. So the Muslim given name here, mostly people will go for Muhammad. And then there is also bin Ali or bin Laden. So bin Laden becomes the last name. Though you see bin Laden means son of, I think, son of Laden. But you look at the last name, bin Laden becomes like all Laden, which will be going for. So there you can see Osama becomes maybe the Muslim given name, and you will not use it as in the references list. You can go for bin Laden, then Osama, and you go on with your references list of that.
Does the order matter when you reference in the in text, and then you change down in the reference list?
Sorry, I couldn't get.
I'm saying, does the order matter when you're using it in referencing it in the in text reference list, and then you go down in the list, you change?
Okay, the order matters. When you start a name in the citation, it must follow into your reference. So you put that surname you cited first, then the other follow. For example, here, Brudisky, this cited list number 2, you have Brudisky, comma, that is the surname. You should have cited all Brudisky like this in this text. And then the other
Network. Doctor, you're not picking you.
I think he has lost the host. Back to him because I'm seeing me now having it.
No, network. I think network has cut him off.
But I think the host has moved.
So Phoebe, you can start where you stopped.
With the reference text, how am I going to explain what I don't know even?
No, you can take the lead. Then we continue from where.
You are your winner, Caesar. You are the one who knows now the reference texting. You are the one now to draw us on board. So you can, but he's there. He's now back.
Okay. Then you can make him the co-host because he has lost the. Yeah, you can make him the also co-host.
I want which button should I press?
I don't know. They're using a phone. Just go click on the button on the right side, right hand of his name. Then you right click on it and down.
Let me see. It's make host.
Co-host.
Let me make him host.
A co-host.
Okay. Thank you so much, Phoebe, for your help. I was disconnected by, I think, network challenge here. Okay. One of you, either Wafula, I think, needs to mute. Okay, thank you for that. All right. So, colleagues, I was doing that to show you that the citations are very important and we need to make sure they are done. And that is one of the points that we have emphasized and I've taken it very seriously, so that whenever you are writing your academic these days at the university, many people, many of the lecturers will do that. And it is important for you to do it very effectively, organize so that it becomes very useful in your presentation. I've spent a bit of time today on so that your writing is very to the point. Even those of you who submitted earlier, suppose you need to read based on all these discussions, do so. It will be useful. You can even resend it. The line is still up to 30th. All right. As we go on, may I again inquire if there are questions and we move to our next discussion. Atola, are you comfortable with this discussion or you need further help? Thank you.
Doctor.
Yes.
There is one thing I just want to, how do you reference the class notes in case notes given in class? And there is a point in those notes. How do you reference that?
Okay, it is similar to what we are seeing here. The class from a particular lecturer or teacher. So you start with the surname of that lecturer. If the surname is on which year was this lecture? 2023. And then what was the topic of that lecture? You put the topic of that lecture. And towards the end, you can even indicate how you accessed it. Was it online? If it was online and sent, you say it was email. That will be okay. And when you can put the date, maybe 4th of, let us say, August 2023. You put it there. You don't need a website for that. You say, or it can even be a PowerPoint presentation. Lecture going on. You can say PowerPoint presentation lecture notes on what date. So you put the date there. And where was it done? Uganda Martyrs University. So you know where Uganda Martyrs University is within Kampala. Normally, but people say it is in Impiji, but it reads Kampala, not Impiji. So you say Kampala City, that follows. And who is the author of it? Again, you say Uganda Martyrs University. Who is the author? Because the author, the lecturer is from there. That you can do that in the references list. But in the citation, you take Odama 2023 lecture notes. That is it in the body of your essay. That will take care of that. Sender, are you that one?
Yeah, I picked you well. Because it has been disturbing me so much.
Okay. All right. Zawede Kevin.
Doctor.
Yes, please.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Good morning to you, Zawede. Good to hear your voice and see you online.
Thank you.
Yes.
So my inquiries is, Doctor.
Go ahead. I'm listening.
My inquiry is about the kinds of references you are making. Must we only cite books alone?
No.
Or if
it's not only. You can also cite journal articles, which are very common today in all research. People are using journal articles, which can be online. And online, you can do it via Google or other sources, like from the library. You have online resources. You can download them or use them and cite them.
Okay, then secondly, if I've had help from Google, how do I cite Google? All
Okay.
Google is not allowed.
Okay, what you do in the citation, you don't need to the website you got from Google site. Google normally operates using the websites, and they put there the book or the journal article. So those are the two things you may need to get from Google. So when you get them from Google like that, in the citation within the text, you don't cite the website, like HTTP, DOI, and so forth. You don't cite that there. You put the name of one who wrote that article, like APA was the one that wrote the article or the book titled Publication Manual of the American Psychology Association. So here you cite APA 2020 and give us the idea that you got from there afterwards.
Thank you, Doctor.
You are welcome, Zawedi. Okay.
In relation to that, Doctor, there are some, let's say that you may find content on media, like on Google, with being in the form of an article, as you have stipulated. So
Yes.
don't we that one in the citations and especially in the work? Thank you.
Yes, you also include that, but make sure you know the author also. Sometimes, as we said, author can be a company, or it can be a university like that, or it can be individual person. Then when was this placed on that website? You also put us the citation or in the references list. And then you give us the title work you have read. It may not be a journal article, but it can be something like a blog you find on the website. So make sure the blog's title is there. And then, of course, when was it published or put there on that website? You need to also indicate that time range, which is maybe 2023. And then, of course, it can be followed by the place where it was placed. Was it the university home there, maybe by maintained by the university, or even by an EU? You could put there your name as the individual, Innocent Atuhaire, who is maintaining, keeping that blog. So all those details must be reflected in the list. In the citation, you only put the name of the blogger and the year. Those are the two required. Innocent, are we together here?
Yes, doctor. Welcome, thank you too.
Okay. If there are no further questions, let me now lead to our. I hope, colleagues, you are ready for that discussion of today. Should I go on? Please authorize me.
Doctor, go on. At least people are now contented of what you need them to write.
Okay. Thank you so much, Phoebe, for that moment. Let me now switch to the next slide that I would like to share with you. And I'm going to stop this sharing and open another for our discussion. So this time, we shall now look at something like this. I hope I'm not repeating what yes, something like this. We looked at the socialization process last time, and we said a lot of things about socialization. But now, when it comes to socialization, what do you still remember about socialization? But in order to do that, I would like to introduce you to something new. Have you ever heard of the abbreviation SOCO? SOCO, SOCO. And if you have heard it, what does it mean? Colleagues, I would like to get your attention on this one. Have you ever heard of the abbreviation SOCO? SOCO. Your reactions?
Personally, I have not heard about it. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Thank you for that. Sender?
Me, what I've heard is about socialization. This one I've not heard. The SOCO I've heard is the other School of Clinical Officers, not this SOCO here.
Okay. School of Clinical Officers. Anybody else has ever heard of SOCOs? Especially when you are doing research or people are doing presentations. They normally talk of SOCOs. You go to attend a conference somewhere and the presenter will present something afterwards. He will talk of, or she will talk of a SOCO. So what is a SOCO? It's not something Sender said about clinical officers. No, Association of Clinical Officers, no. There is something else we need to get here, and you will be happy to know it as OMU students. SOCO. Anybody can try that? Please, you can unmute or raise your hand, and I let you speak. Phoebe has never come across this. This is serious.
Doctor, this is so serious. It's my first time even to see it.
Okay. A whole class president should know this. Phoebe. How about Esther? Nalonkuma. Have you ever heard of Soko?
Doctor, I have no idea, but when Samuel talked about the other clinic, at least it came in my mind. But in sociology, I don't have any idea.
How about Caesar Wino?
I have not heard
We miss
of that nature.
Yeah, we miss Odeke. I don't know where Odeke is, lost in the clouds.
Odeke is online, but network is studying him.
Okay. I thought Achola was going to say something. I saw you unmute. Melissa, Angela, any idea about Soko?
No, I don't have an idea about it.
Okay. Mbabali Lawrence.
Doctor, I have no idea about it.
Okay, no problem. Even if you don't have an idea, at least that's a challenge. We need to get an answer to that. How about Wafula Julius? Hello, Wafula Julius? Okay, looks like Wafula Julius doesn't have an idea on that. Somebody sent a saying selling orientation and custom orientation. No, Wafula Julius is saying he's traveling, so he can't access this. It's okay. Colleagues, about Soko, this is what exactly we mean. And I would like to reiterate that Soko means single overriding communication objective. That is what Soko is. I'll put it soon on the slide. Soko means single overriding communication objective. So when the speaker has given his or her presentation, the speaker will ask the audience what they have remembered. One thing that they have remembered that sticks in their mind that they would not want to forget. That is the piece of communication the speaker would like the audience to get. And it becomes a Soko, single overriding communication objective. So each time there is a lecture, I will be asking you the following week about the single overriding communication objective or message you got from that lecture. So you will tell me. So that was why I was asking you, do you have a Soko from last week's lecture on socialization? So that means you need to remember at least one thing about socialization that you learned last week. So that is what we call a Soko. And it is put here on your slide. Soko equals to single overriding communication objective. So last time we learned about socialization. Socialization is a lifelong learning through which people acquire knowledge, skills, and attitudes to enable them fit in a family or class or society. That is what we learned. But there were so many other things we talked about, the rationale for socialization, why we should do socialization. So that's what I'm asking you. Is there one thing you remember from last week's discussion on socialization? That is the Soko I'm referring to. So colleagues, the floor is up for you for the discussion. What one single thing do you remember about last week? Innocent, you can start.
Thank you, Doctor, and everyone. We learned about why indeed the rationale, the reasons why we should socialize. And one point I remember is that it makes us culturally competent, meaning someone can discover about other cultures and know how these cultures do what they do, and possibly know the values they hold, and then he can be able to tell about different cultures, and of course, beginning with his the best way to go. Thank you.
Excellent. So there. Thank you very much, Innocent, for that wonderful presentation there. Next. Yes, Caesar.
What I remember is the purpose of socialization. It is to enable society to survive.
Very
So
good.
it should bring positive changes in society.
Exactly. Thank you so much for that recapitulation there. Now we have Lawrence.
Yes, Doctor. I remember last time we talked about socialization as a means of helping one to develop one's identity. That when you go into a community or a society and you get to learn about them and their culture, then you are able to come out with a distinct self. In that, if you are agreeing with their beliefs, you can go on with them and do what they're doing. But if you don't agree with them, then it means that you allow them be, you let them be, you don't oppose them, you live with them peacefully, but also remembering who you are, and you come out distinctively. They love you as long as you love them, even when you don't do what they are doing. Thank you.
Wow, 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 wow. Lawrence, you are into some gold here. Thank you so much for that detailed input and analysis of what we did. Thank you so much. Any one more, then we move on to what we need to discuss. Yes, Odege.
Thank you, Doctor. Good morning.
Good morning. I've been missing you.
Been missing you too. Actually, it was network interference here, but I hope it will stabilize.
Okay.
So what I can remember about last week's lecture is that socialization helps us to become civil and human in a way that when we interact, when we socialize with others, we bring out that human aspect in us, which makes us different from other animals, and that makes us to have respect for human rights, to realize our own humanity and that of those with whom we interact with. I can stop there for now. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Odeke. Thank you. I'm really very proud to see you on. And whenever you are missing, you, Caesar, and Lawrence, and Esther, and Phoebe, it worries me. Today, I'm very happy to be with you.
Okay.
All right. So this is what we looked at last time. And you have the points which are already raised there from Adu Febiri 2020. And you see, I keep my citations very clear in the text, even on these PowerPoint slides. The citations are everywhere because you have to read before you prepare for these classes, and then you integrate them. So here we have being culturally competent. Sometimes you are socialized to become culturally incompetent because some societies are there socializing their people, not knowing that today the society needs to be technically competent. And they forget that people need technology. Instead, they are socializing you about other things. So there is culturally, you become incompetent in the socialization process. But we don't want to go that side. We want to be culturally competent. And then developing one's identity, that was overemphasized, and I thank Lawrence for that. Developing one's self-image, who you are, what you are capable of doing. You should be able to know, you should be able to feel that you are capable in this world of doing a lot of things. And then your contribution to interaction with the people, how you can relate with them, and then how you can bring people together. That is the idea of integration and harmony. Peace, we need that. And then enabling society to survive, sustainability of society depends on socialization. So that will mean we need the skills, we need the knowledge, we need the attitudes that are good to enable the society to survive. So socialization helps us, equips us with those knowledge, attitudes, and skills. And then to become humane or human, civil. You see so many challenges with our society, Uganda here. People sometimes act irrationally and they become very, very beastly to each other. They are harming each other without good reason at all. Sometimes just a quarrel over land, you find people killing each other, and yet any issue with the land could be discussed and resolved peacefully. And then bring out positive changes in each individual. As you develop, I don't know how you have developed since we started this class in terms of your individual personal growth. I'm sure many of you will testify that they are different from before you started this course unit. So that will be the positive change occurring in you as a result of socialization using this particular course called Sociology of Education. But sometimes the socialization goes to affect the society. So when you are different positively, you will also be able to change the society in a positive way. That is the assumption behind this. So we hope you are going to be a different man, a different lady in your family, and the family is going to be positively different as well. So these are reasons as to why we need socialization. Now, schools become very big agents of socialization. So when we talk about agent, this is the heart of today's lecture. School is seen as an agent of socialization by many, many societies, including our rural societies. It can be socialization done informally in that setting, or socialization done in the school setting. So for today, I want to highlight the school's importance in socialization. So the school is an agent of socialization. When we talk of an agent, we can refer to somebody who is going between others. For example, you need a wedding to take place and you want to inform the bridegroom's side, you find the groom will send an agent to inform the side of the bridegroom that soon we are bringing dowry. So prepare to welcome us. So they go between. That agent has a responsibility of coordinating things between the two families. That could be an example of an agent. An agent acts on behalf of somebody, on behalf of, let us say, an authority somewhere. For example, when President Museveni is going to Soroti to see Odeke, he will not be the one to begin. He will send a team of CIDs to go on around, to look around to see whether there's a security threat from Odeke's side or not. And those who do the reconnaissance in Soroti will be sent ahead. They will even start informing people that, okay, the big man is coming, we need to prepare. You see the RDCs, the DSOs, the people around in the government, MPs are sent ahead of him. So when he comes, finally, that day, the ground is prepared for him. That is an agent doing the dirty job, but on behalf of another. So the school has a responsibility of socializing the students, socializing the staff, both teaching and non-teaching staff. So that responsibility is exercised on behalf of somebody. So for most schools, schools do it on behalf of government. Actually, the government wants everybody in the nation to be socialized. But how? The government cannot do it directly all the time. So the schools are now charged with that responsibility. Whether it was colonial government, the British used the schools to socialize us, whether positively or negatively, for their own interest. Today, the government is doing socialization through the schools. So it depends on what type of government is in power. Socialization is going to go based on that interest. And sometimes you find people resisting it because it is done very badly by maybe the schools on behalf of government. So here we need to point that out. Who is behind the socialization? Agents. These agents can be different people, can be governments. We can talk of a higher power behind the schools. It can be the board of governance of the school, or it can be the parents association, parents teachers association that's behind it, or it can be the government directly who owns the school, or it can be the religious bodies which are managing the school in case of some of the private schools. So we need to be aware of who is behind the school being the agent of socialization, so that we know the product of the socialization is like this because the owner wants it that way. Colleagues, I hope that point is clear. Whenever it comes to socialization, and especially looking at the agents of socialization, there are so many around us, know behind the agents, there could be a higher power, a higher leadership that is enforcing the socialization. The case of schools, that can be the state. So now, as agents of socialization, the school, as I emphasize, has the responsibility of socializing its human resource. And that point has been very clear in Dewey's presentation and in Nickerson-Charlotte's presentation, which some of us could access that online. Nickerson-Charlotte, 2023, did something and wrote a book and said, agents of socialization are people. They are not just things in the air, abstract. No, they are real people who are agents of socialization. For example, in the schools, these can be the teachers who teach our students every day. Those are the people we're talking about. For the case of the school, it can be the head teacher who addresses the school in different ways, walks into the class to meet and interact with the students and teachers. He does that socialization. The teachers are busy teaching any subject for the students. That is also a process of socialization. The teachers take the students for games. Sports are also points of socialization in our schools. And then these can form the self-image and attitudes and behaviors of our students, parents, maybe priests. All those can be the things that we are targeting, and they can also be the agents of socialization. As I said, the parents come and socialize the children. They become agents of socialization. But in our case, when you look at a school, it is the teachers. You can also look at the students themselves socializing one another. They are interacting and sharing ideas with one another. And then we have the prefect's body, also busy socializing the rest of the children with their leadership in that school. Sometimes you find the chaplain, the priests are invited into our schools. When they come there, they're busy socializing on behalf of the school. They too become agents of socialization. What about the television personalities? So many of us are familiar with that. And in Uganda here, we only emphasize one-sided. Sometimes we go for people who are like musicians, top DJs. We think those are the only ones socializing us. No. Sometimes we look at the rock stars who do music and dance like Michael Jackson's those years. They used to be the rock stars who were agents of socialization. But these days, there are quite a number. We can talk of people who have made significant influence on society in terms of their being role models. Those are the agents of socialization we can characterize under television personalities. So we need to look at that as that. There are so many agents of socialization, even within the school, though the school is an agent itself of socialization. We can look at the individuals who are there doing this. Now, Dewey recently, about 23 years ago, came up, had an idea which was written down probably by somebody on his behalf, because he died in 1903, some time ago. But his ideas keep influencing us up to today. So there is an idea that was written and reprinted in 2000. He introduced the school as the agent of socialization by saying that the school has a responsibility to socialize us. And the way he put it, when the school introduces and trains each child of society into membership within such a little community, the school saturates him or her with the spirit of service. So we want all the children we are educating to have the spirit of service. They can serve one another, other people in their communities, in their families, in their schools. The spirit of service is important. And then we need to provide the children we teach with the instruments of effective self-direction. Many of us lack self-direction. So we need to learn how to be self-directed, to do things right without being supervised. That is the idea of effective self-direction. We shall have the best guarantee of a larger society, which is worthy, lovely, and harmonious. So according to Dewey, the school is an agent of socialization. And what the school does is to prepare people to become good citizens. Citizens who will love peace, who will love their country, citizens who will do the right thing, who will avoid corruption and so forth. That is according to Dewey. The school is an agent of socialization. Now, besides Dewey, there is also Nirada recently who argued that. Can a volunteer read for us that, please? Any volunteer among us? Yes, Lawrence.
School provides democratic climate, which helps children to acquire democratic norms. Children learn how to live with democratic norms and how to behave with each other, which help in his or her socialization. School encourages children to participate in various kinds of co-curricular activities. These activities help children to develop leadership among them. The school provides social environment before children by organizing community work, social service camps, social functions, and annual functions, so that all the social norms and values, namely sympathy, cooperation, tolerance, social awareness, can be developed among them.
Thank you so much, Lawrence, for that articulate reading. Schools do a lot, and they can do it in different ways. So here, the different ways are pointed out in this reading. Achola, which way can you identify here? One way for us. Hello, Achola, are you on air?
Yes, please.
Can you identify one way in which the school socializes the students?
Maybe in some co-curricular activities like football, whereby students have to work with each other, to do some teamwork.
Yes, exactly. Thank you for that. Anybody else has identified another here? I can see a hand coming up or somebody unmuting here. Esther, why don't you try one? Hello, Esther? Esther's nowhere. Any other volunteer? Yes, Esther's back.
Doctor, maybe they can also take these students for tour. So when students when they get a different experience from the field, they may interact when they are there because of a different environment. so they improve on their socialization levels.
Very good. Thank you, Esther, for that. Phoebe, why don't you give us one before we move to the next slide?
Maybe, Doctor, it has made me just to remember,
Yes.
in the new curriculum, that is the lower secondary curriculum, they are now encouraging schools to form clubs in the schools, such that they bring out that mixed abilities among the students. Now, as we form those clubs in schools, you'll find that you are forming Scripture Union Club, Debate Club, Sports Club, so many others, but you find these people coming out with their talents and they bring out the best of what they can do through the way they socialize. You find one is talented in one way and the other one is also talented, but when they put their knowledge together, they can make things come out in the best way, which is now a concern to the new curriculum, that schools should always form those clubs among the students.
Wow, very good. That's why you are the president of our class. Very important point, forming clubs as a means of socializing the students. What else is going on in our schools? What do we do?
Doctor, also
Sender.
I just want to add on what Phoebe has said. Debates.
Yes.
We always take them for debates, but you see how they socialize, how the level of debate, the level of sharing knowledge, argument. And then the other one is someone talked about sports. Sports also is another way. So first of all, within the school, there's what we call house competitions. And then you see how most of them love their houses, how they argue out, how they support, like that. Then the other one is through excursions. Is another way of socializing. You take them out, different companies, or sometimes schools, and they see and you see how they socialize with others outside there. Thank you.
Wonderful. Lawrence, then Julius follows.
Yes, Doctor, we have talked about developing leadership.
Yes.
And it comes as a result of giving responsibilities to these students in schools. For example, if someone is made an infirmarian, that even before a nurse or a doctor comes in, there is that student who is taking good care of those who are sick in a school setting and other responsibilities. And we've also had cases whereby a school may catch fire, but there are always those leading students because of the responsibilities that they have attained, who come out to help others to come out of that situation. Thank you.
Wow, excellent. We are now progressing quite well in this discussion. Atwaire.
Yes, Doctor.
Any point that will show that the school is socializing the students or teachers, you can come up with?
Well, allow me to generalize as regards the class setting. Of course, you discover that there are different students from different backgrounds, and so when they come together, given the form of grouping, you find that someone is able to interact with each other and even learn much from another. Thank you.
Excellent job. Thank you so much. Julius?
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Morning.
Good morning.
Yes, I thank all my colleagues for the wonderful presentation. And you, Dr. too, for guiding us. Thank you so much. My contribution about the socialization in the school. One, when you look at the new curriculum, it is all about scaling. So one of the issues which we give the learners to do by themselves is to come up with the project work. And you'll find that when you give the project work to these learners, they are going to use all possible means to come up with their skills and knowledge, and they come out with the final product. So basing on that, we see that these kids are interacting and socializing with one another. Then secondly, in the schools, we have what we call leaders, but before they are elected as leaders, they have to go through democracy, and that is you find that these kids, they practice their ability to look for, also listen for the support from their learners, and then the best candidate will have to win the campaigns and take over the leadership. Then that takes up even go beyond the school level, the level that, for example, yesterday my school went to the Mukono Wunsa Association, where even they emerged to get some other leadership skills and the responsibilities. So that indicates that socialization does not only end at school, but even schools against schools can also interact as leaders. Thank you so much.
Wow, excellent. Julius, though you are traveling, your points are very clear. We're able to relate to that. And thank you for raising quite a number of issues here, which are very important in our discussion. Phoebe?
Doctor, there's something I've recalled. Currently, there's something that is cropping into schools where schools organizes a program and these children are told to pick on the little they have. They visit the community. Maybe they go to babies' homes. Maybe they go to orphanages, or they go to the community around them and they clean. As they are going there, maybe to give the little they have or to clean the community, they tend to learn from the community where they have gone. Maybe you find those ones who are like looking at themselves as poor. They see another category of people who need more help than them. So they learn to appreciate what they have and they learn to care for others in the process. Thank you.
Excellent. Community service and then environmental awareness. All this is included in this wonderful discussion you have here. Odeke, all the way from the east. From the east, I have wise people coming. Odeke. Hello, Odeke.
Hello, Doctor.
You're welcome with your submission.
Actually, I'm experiencing network disturbances here. My screen is blacked out. Actually, I'm not really following.
Now, what you would do, you listen to this, and whatever you are listening to, we are discussing the school being the agent of socialization, and we want to know how.
Okay.
So is there a point or an idea you would like to share with us on how the schools you have experienced in your region of work doing socialization of either the students or the teaching or non-teaching staff?
It is true, a school is an agent of socialization in a way that, first and foremost, it brings pupils or students from various backgrounds together. And now, when people come together, like now the students, they do interact, share ideas here and there. And in so doing, a school will be promoting socialization. Then on the other hand, the students interact with the teachers interact with the students, also in the learning process, outside the learning process, in the co-curricular activities, and in the assignments and the rest. So in the interaction, the school becomes a socializing agent. Then the other point is the non-teaching staff in the school. Sometimes during break hours, during co-curricular activities, students do interact with these people. Like some of them do appreciate them in the work they do for them in the school. And really the non-teaching also encourage the students to work hard for their future, things like that. So in so doing, the school becomes a socializing agent. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Odeke. Let's see some more details on that in my next slide before we conclude this day. And this is what we could have. And we have already said most of these points. Here, the school is much larger than the family. And because it is much larger than the family, it handles a very diverse group. That's why I put their socially heterogeneous group, which means the group is not homogeneous, it's not the same. When you have a school, the children come from different backgrounds. The children have different cultures. The children speak different languages. And then you find the children have different friendship formations, clubs, and so forth. That's how diverse a school can get. And because it is more bigger than the family, and in terms of diversity is even more diverse, there is a way in which the schools function as proper agents of socialization here. And the school does it in the many ways, as you had mentioned, through the teaching and learning process. Whatever you teach, that subject has knowledge, has attitude, has skills, and other values enshrined in those subjects. And the better the teacher handles that subject, the more socialization occurs for the children, even for the teacher himself. Because when you teach, you also teach yourself. You learn from what you teach. You learn from the students, how they respond to issues, like the way you are now sharing with us in this Zoom lecture. I'm learning from you. You are learning from me. So socialization is going on through the teaching and learning process for both of us. And then there is a peer group interaction going on. Many of you had mentioned how the peer groups work, and the clubs are formed by the different groups. You find a peer group coming from the same village, and they are going to the same school. Those people will maintain their peer groups from the villages where they come. And sometimes it is a good peer group, sometimes it is a bad peer group. So we need to help the peer groups to be healthy peer groups instead of destructive ones. That's also socialization going on among the peers. And then legal sanctions. The schools are fond of using legal sanctions. For example, they would use the school rules to suspend or dismiss a student who is misbehaving. Sometimes they may not suspend nor dismiss, but they give you a punishment there and then. It used to be spanking or beating, but these days that corporal punishment is outlawed in the education system in Uganda. But some few teachers still continue with it illegally. But legally, you can give a punishment that is appropriate to the learner. It may not be corporal punishment. For example, you may deny the student what the student likes the most as a punishment. Student is always playing games instead of classes going on. You can deny the student playing games for a few days to punish or discipline that student. Or you can deny the student watching television because the student likes watching television. And this is common with the parents. There's a parent who came to Uganda Matters University and disappeared, picked the remote control of the TV and the decoder, came to work at Uganda Matters University with those things in her bag. So the child at home looked for the decoder and the remote in vain. That day, the child could not operate the TV. So that was a punishment for the child who was fond of watching TV instead of doing his homework. So parents can do that, and the schools can also do something like that. Legal punishments, which are appropriate. Then recognition and rewards for good behavior. I think many schools do that. They recognize a child who has done well. You saw me recognizing each one of you who had a significant contribution. I can say thank you. The other day I did in a class, I pulled out 10,000 and gave to somebody who answered the best in that class. So the student was so happy and went ahead to share even the item bought with that money with her colleagues. You see, I share the student has learned how to share, is now sharing with others. That is how it can go around the society. When we learn something valuable. And then furthermore, you can use rewards. A teacher has excelled in, let us say, teaching the learners, and the learners are performing so well. Parents are very happy with the learners' behavior because of that teacher. So why can't the school? I know some of you may be owners of schools, proprietors, you can be the directors of schools, you can be head teachers in your schools. There's a need to recognize some of these teachers so that you motivate them to do more. The other day we had a Teachers' Day worldwide, but in Uganda here, we are so disorganized. We didn't even take care of the teachers. That should have been a day free for all teachers to just relax and party, celebrate, being recognized by the schools, being recognized by the nation, by the church that owns the schools. What did we do? We left many teachers just languish there without knowing it was their day worldwide. We missed an opportunity right there. And that is a point for socialization. We missed. Then we have guidance and counseling for the staff, for the students, and so forth, taking place in our schools. But I hope that is done well. But otherwise, it would be a very good opportunity for socializing our school human resources. And then we have the spiritual development. Father chaplain comes in, the imam comes in to pray there, the hajat and so forth come in and pray there. Bible studies, we have different prayer services like mass going on. These are all opportunities for socializing, and these can be organized by the schools to take care of our children and our staff. What about the talking compounds? I hope many of you could have mentioned that, because you interact with these things a lot in many schools, primary up to secondary, they are talking compounds. We have stickers or placards or maybe sign posts which are put all over the school compound, and they point to certain values that are dear to us, certain attitudes that are dear to us, certain knowledge, certain skills that we need to embrace. So those things are posted all over many school compounds. Their job is to socialize us. They read these things, feels there's something going on, and I need to be like so-and-so. I need to think like so-and-so. And we see so many role models which are there to help us and guide us. This is how many schools are doing the socialization process. But how effective are they? That is the question. We need to assess that in our discussion. Now, so far, we have seen how the school socializes its own children. We can lastly say schools' functions are directed to a larger heterogeneous audience. We saw this right in our discussion. 2, schools have the responsibility of socializing the human resources they have. 3, schools use a variety of approaches to socialize the human resources. We have discussed that into details. 4, it is good for scholars, critical thinkers like you today, to be aware of the fact that there is somebody behind the school being an agent of socialization. Who is that agent? We should know. I mentioned earlier, the schools are supported or doing it on behalf of government. That's one. The government will want every school to socialize the students, the staff in a certain way. That's why we have teachers' code of conduct, which the schools can use to socialize the teachers. The non-teaching staff have their own code of conduct. The children have their school rules and so forth. So the schools are doing it on behalf of government. Besides government, some schools are private, owned by different proprietors. So the school proprietors may want the children and their staff to be socialized in a certain way. So they are the ones actually controlling the socialization program. So we need to be aware of that. The reason why we should be aware of that is that it can dictate the reasons for doing the socialization and the approaches used. It can also lead into the product of the socialization. How should the students from one school be socialized and become who they become? Take a school like Nyapea College in West Nile. Their motto is to socialize the individual to become a gentleman, a gentle lady. But for them, they are focusing on the boys, male people. So they want to develop gentlemen for the society. I don't know what the mottos of your schools or former schools are. You should know that each school has a way in which it socializes its human resource to become what they want them to become. So you can see the socialization is controlled by a higher power beyond the school itself. It can be the school authorities, it can be the government, it can be the foundation body that is controlling it. Take Uganda Matters. Uganda Matters is controlled by the Catholic Episcopal bishops of Uganda. So they are the ones who have a say. They tell Uganda Matters, you are socializing the students of Uganda Matters on our behalf as Uganda Catholic bishops. So you can see how connected the socialization agencies operate. They are actually under the mandate of the authorities behind this socialization, the higher powers. So we need to be aware of that. Schools must not degenerate into agents of indoctrination. Here, socialization is now reduced by many schools into indoctrination, where you just give the students whatever you give and you want them to reproduce it no matter what. Sometimes you can even punish them for not reproducing it the way it is, cramming it and making sure that is what was given you by the schools. That is indoctrination. But the schools need to socialize our children, our staff, to become self-authored citizens. Who is a self-authored citizen? May I ask Lawrence and Caesar to help us here, if you can. A self-authored citizen. What do you think, Lawrence and Caesar? Odeke, you can also begin thinking. Kasule, you can also think about that. Yes, Lawrence.
Yes, Doctor. I believe self-authored citizens are people with an independent mind, students who look at things with an open eye, and they can decide on what is best for them. They learn from others. They get the precepts and the rules of how things run, and then they are able to take their own decision, which is positive and which is not inconveniencing the community where they are staying. So they somehow it is some kind of developing self-esteem of who people are, and then they bring out that picture to the rest of the community. Thank you.
Well done. Thank you so much, Lawrence. How about Caesar? Okay,
from the word author, an author is somebody with independent thinking. So schools, self-authored citizens, someone with an independent thought, someone self-moved. I generated from the word author, an author of, for example, of a book, somebody who can generate ideas independently, although with some support.
Yes, very good. Henry Kalule. Hello, Henry.
I'm thinking about a self-authorized citizen because when I look at citizenship, this one, there is a way citizenship is typically granted by the government or a recognized authority based on specific criteria such as birth. So self-authorization of citizenship can be seen as a proper channel for someone to be okay, you have, I'm looking at it as having an authority over yourself. You seek official authorization to yourself. You start owning yourself. You improve on your self-esteem. That's what I'm seeing.
Wow, you're close to the point. A self-authored citizen, Esther and the other colleagues, especially my female students today who are in this class. I didn't hear from you, but it would be good to hear from one of you. Phoebe, you want to lead the way?
Yes, Doctor.
A self-authored person.
I'm looking at this person who is self-authored citizen as a person who acquires the knowledge, but gets this knowledge and comes up with something that will benefit him and the society.
Very good. Thank you, Phoebe, for that. What about the other members? Stella, and who else is there? Esther, you would like to come in? We need to balance the equation here, male, female views. Melissa, be prepared in case you have something you can unmute and say about the self-authored citizen. That is what the school is supposed to develop. Melissa, would you want to go ahead? Looks there's a network challenge somewhere for, I think, Melissa.
Doctor, does a self-authorized citizen take a responsibility of their own actions?
Yes, very good. Henry Kalule, you have a point here. You are able to take responsibility. That is the thing.
They also contribute to the society. That's what I'm thinking.
Yes, very good.
Because they are made. They are made by themselves. They are made.
Yes.
They critically think. They take on responsibility. They also do continuous reading, by the way. They keep on learning every day.
Yes, exactly.
That's what I think.
You're right. You're right. Okay. Melissa, are you now on? Can we hear you?
I am on, but it seems like Henry's mentioned some of what I wanted to share. I wanted to say that self-authorized individuals are self-made. They discover for themselves, they're independent thinkers, and they don't need someone else's opinion. Like they don't go by what the others are actually going or doing. They discover for themselves and take on their own identity. And like Henry has said, if it's in terms of being a citizen, they're actually there for a country. They are not selfish in their knowledge that they've acquired.
Wow. I clap for you. Thank you for punctuating it so nicely. A self-authored person is somebody who acts out of conviction instead of being forced or driven by others to act. That is a self-authored citizen. And this self-authored citizen who acts out of conviction discovers, learns, has knowledge, has idea of what is right to be done, and it doesn't care whether the president is watching or the commander-in-chief is watching or the parent is watching. No, the self-authored child is always saying, I can do this for reason A, B, C, D. And whatever people say, it is up to them. For him or for her, is convinced that what is going to do is right and it is going to change lives of people in the society, and goes ahead. And if there is a need for him to look for better knowledge, he reads without anybody forcing this child to read. There are some of us who are at that level, others are struggling to reach there. So there is a need for school to develop that self-authored person or citizen in the school, if we want the citizens to be self-authored. For example, the issue of corruption. People are stealing money of the nation, but a self-authored person will know this money is meant for service in the society, so doesn't steal the money. That's a self-authored citizen. And where does that person come from? Many times the schools are the ones who have formed this individual. Many times it is the church that forms them. Many times it is the mosque that forms them. Many times it is maybe interaction with other significant role models that creates such a self-authored citizen. But a self-authored citizen, we are not saying is the person who doesn't want the views of others. No, this is a person who learns, who knows what others say and what important things they say, and uses those important ideas to do what he does. But that doesn't mean he does it because of others. He thinks through these things and then applies them in everyday life. That is a self-authored person. I wish so many of us were in this category. Uganda would be different. The schools would be different today, because causing a strike would be a problem for such a person. Would think through, why should I cause a strike and destruction all over the place? Are there no better ways to address a strike? A self-authored person would go through that exercise, and a strike is called off. That is who a self-authored person is. Means being original, being yourself. That is a self-authored person. But being yourself can be a product of learning from so many sources. And then you develop your own identity, as Lawrence had indicated earlier, and you become a better citizen. I wish Uganda had so many citizens like this who are self-authored. We are missing them. Our churches need such people. Instead, we have cowards, we have thieves who do things in the dark. During the broad daylight, they don't want to do the right things. At night, they are busy doing dirty things. That's not being self-authored. So Baxter, Marcia, Magolda, and her colleague, these two professors did a research, and they are still doing it up to today for the last like 40 years on who a self-authored citizen is and how we can create conditions in our schools to come up with self-authored students, self-authored teachers, self-authored citizens. So this is what a school should be doing. In my conclusion, I think that is what socialization is pointing to. We need self-authored students, teachers, and citizens for our world. Thank you so much, colleagues. We bring this to a close with these conclusions, unless you have a question or two you can ask before we close it. If not, then I would invite Caesar to conclude it with a prayer.
In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit.
Amen.
We thank you, Lord Jesus Christ, for the moment you have given us today to learn this course, for our lecturer and for our colleagues. We thank you, and we ask you to keep us focused, so that whatever we learn here, we should use for the better of our society, so that we may become self-authored citizens. We ask all this through Christ our Lord.
Amen.
Amen.
And may the Almighty God bless you, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
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 Thank you so much, Caesar. Colleagues, I want to wish you a very fruitful, blessed weekend.
Blessed weekend.
Thank you,
And
Doctor.
happy independence.
Thank you.
I'm recording. Maybe you'll just the host can end, and so that I save my recording.
Okay.
Yes.